now.
Do you remember what I said about vertical video? There we go. That's much better. Okay.
I'm gonna put this in my video.
When the Game of Thrones novel came in the mail, I was initially terrified because, oh my gosh, the novel was huge. I flipped to the last page and froze because it was like a bajillion pages long. I prayed I would like this novel since I had to read the whole thing for class. Thankfully, my prayers were answered. The Game of Thrones novel is extraordinary. After all, this is how the Game of Thrones phenomenon all started. The fact that someone came up with all of this is crazy. I mean, what the heck is going on in your mind, George Martin? Can you share some of that brilliance and creativity with the rest of us? In the interview, he says he came up with the idea of the Game of Thrones solely by thinking of the direwolves. The scene where the Stark family discovers the puppies caused George Martin to create the rest of the novel. These puppies were the backbone to the story because they symbolize so much that happens in the novel. I look at my puppy and all I can think about is if she's gonna pee in the house. So props to you, George Martin. You can think of puppies and create 5 novels. Bravo. This novel is awesome though because it is not afraid to talk about things that a lot of people are afraid to talk about in detail, such as violence or sex. And dang, George Martin is not afraid to talk about these things in extreme detail. These details can sometimes make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, especially with the Lannister siblings who have a sexual relationship. The details about the sex scenes all throughout the novel are like a porno. Can anyone say 50 Shades of Grey? Or the gruesome details when he talks about violence. And do you have to give so much detail, George Martin, every time someone is decapitated? Yuck. The amount of detail George Martin includes really forces the reader to picture these intense and uncomfortable things. But I feel like George Martin uses immense detail to suggest that sex and violence are a part of our human nature. Other authors are afraid to talk about these topics, but for George Martin, they are unavoidable. Is he suggesting that we are all innately violent? Maybe. Or maybe not. But through the Game of Thrones, you definitely start to become numb to the violence. Becoming numb to such violence is definitely a scary thought. I like how the novel focuses on one character at a time. Not only does it keep it all organized, but it also provides different perspectives. We need different angles for it all to work. However, I think the novel does not need to be as long as it is. It seems like it could be shortened because it takes pages and pages to say one thing that is shown in the television show in just 1 minute. At times, reading the novel can feel like you are on a treadmill, running and feeling like you gotta be close to your goal of 1 mile. You feel like you might be dying, so you look down at your distance, and you aren't even halfway there. But maybe that's a little overdramatic because this novel is fantastic and the ideas are amazing. I don't see how anyone could not like this epic series. Maybe it's long, but maybe it just takes pages and pages to invent a brand new world. After all, this novel is the creation of the epic multimedia obsession, The Game of Thrones.